Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the Capsule 9 of Series 3, Toolkit for Steering Your Business Through the Pandemic. Our guest for today is Suman Singhal, CEO Chirupal Polyfilms, with over 15 years of rich work experience in the flexible packaging industry. Under his leadership, Chirupal Polyfilms has emerged as one of the fastest growing company in the flexible packaging industry, with current production capacity of 280,000 metric tons per annum. 2021 annual turnover clocked at USD 310 million, with a global presence in over 15 countries and a team of over 700. And with the new expansion, they are ready to capture the market. Previously, he was CEO and CEO of Jindal Polyfilms. And very interestingly, he is also an entrepreneurial enthusiast. A very warm welcome to my show, Insights with Nidhi Verma, Series 3.
So, hello, Miss Nidhi, how are you? All good? Hello to everybody. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to explain things about the company and myself.
The pleasure is all ours, Sumanji. Sumanji, Chirupal Polyfilms is a part of the multifaceted Chirupal Group. Yours is a relatively new company. I think the production started in 2012. I'm a little older work-wise. We started Elite Plus in 2010. What's the secret of your success in such a short time span?
See, actually, the Chirupal Group started their own businesses in mid-70s, and they were largely in textiles all over. So when we had this idea of diversifying from textile to a new area, so we thought of packaging as a sector which should be growing, because we were seeing the demands all over and the per capita consumption throughout the other countries, whereas the Indian per capita consumption was low at that time and still very low compared to the developed nations. So, but when we started, we did not start as a single line. We thought we had a vision that we should be one among the top 3, top 4 kind of thing. And from there, it started the whole idea, and the vision was there, the focus was there, the business idea, its understanding was already there. And thanks to all the team members who have been there and part of this journey. So, and most important was the customer focus. From day one, the focus was on the customers and their service. We had a product portfolio with no single, when we started, it was only one BOPP line. So we had a customer portfolio, let's say product portfolio of around 20-25 products. No single line producer normally have that. And then we doubled up the capacity immediately in, let's say, 15 to 16 months. And then we also diversified with another substrate, BOPET films. And then, of course, we started PET resin, coated films, and so on and so on. So I think if I have to say in a couple of sentences, vision was there, focus was there, customer service, and of course, the efficient team which has led to this. It's not only a one-man's effort, so overall situation.
Perfect, sir. Thank you for sharing that, Sumanji. I think whatever you put on the blueprint with that enlarged vision, आपने एकदम उसको practicality में convert कर दिया. Sumanji, it's a perfect time to speak to you with your new expansion in Hyderabad. The additional 1 lakh million metric tons per annum production capacity, I think, is WIP. It will be ending, I think, Q1 2022. What you're installing at Hyderabad with BOPP and BOPT lines, what will be the ratio of the output between domestic and export?
See, first of all, I would like to say that Hyderabad operations is a big milestone for the overall Chirupal Group, because Chirupal Group is already only located in Gujarat so far. So to venture out of Gujarat was also a big challenge, and it is now becoming, is looking to be a very successful venture out there. We have not started yet the operations, but yes, installation is going on. So overall, the installed capacity would be 100,000 tons over there, with 55,000 tons of BOPP and 45,000 tons of BOPET. BOPP is supposed to start somewhere in middle of July, end of July this year. And BOPET is going to start in March 22 next year. So this is the situation. The works are going on, as you said, it is a WIP. We always had a very good steady mix of exports and domestic market in Ahmedabad, from Ahmedabad, and we see that this will continue to be like that, and we look forward to increase our market share in both these segments.
So approximately what is the breakup of percentage of your current production in Ahmedabad between exports and domestic?
if I have to give a breakup idea, it's like 30-35% is exports and the balance 60-65-70% is around domestic market.
Okay, and that will extrapolate when the Hyderabad plants start.
Yes, more or less. Maybe exports go a little bit higher in the initial phases, but overall we look forward to increase our market share in both the segments.
Perfect. Sumanji, what is the ratio between the BOPP, BOPT, metallized coated films in Ahmedabad?
If you talk about films business specifically, we have two lines of BOPP, around 80,000 tons and 40,000 tons of BOPET. And out of the film segments, 30-35% is metallized film segments. And we have a very small capacity in terms of films in coated. But if you see coating standalone, we have around 5,000 tons of coating films per annum.
Okay, that's huge. Understood. Sumanji, with my limited knowledge, मुझे ये नहीं समझ आता है कि customer, because I was trying to understand that the applications for BOPP and BOPT, बहुत ज़्यादा समझ difference नहीं लगा मुझे. So how do you advise the customer that what film they should take for their application, or the customer themselves say between BOPP and BOPT?
I think, see, 75-80% of the customers have their own set of structure depending upon how the FMCG guys want to play out in that segment. So 75% of the times or 80% of the times the customers ask this particular films we need for our thing. So we do not have much to advise over there. But sometimes when they ask for new product as to how we can reduce our cost or how we can optimize our cost, we give some ideas on to reduce cost and to have a better structure depending upon the needs, because ultimately it is the need of the FMCG guys. So depending upon the need of the FMCG guys, we kind of give them advice on the cost, let's say laminate structure, and then accordingly we provide them the required films as well.
Understood. Sumanji, what is the ratio of your geography-wise sale between east, west, north, and south? Of course, west तो आपका गढ़ है, आप अहमदाबाद से हैं, and now you also got getting into the south with Hyderabad. How does the ratio look like?
See, if you our customers are converters, and if you see the concentration of converters in India, typically historically west and north have been the biggest market for these converters. And since we are located in west in Gujarat, and we have limited capacity, so I can say of our film segments, around 45-50% is in western region, 20-25% is in south, which I will explain to you, and the balance is in east and north. Hyderabad, let's say south, for example, south has been the fastest growing region across whole, if you have to divide in 5. So southern region has been the fastest growing region, and there are no producers of films over there. So we took this as an opportunity going to Telangana and want to, capture this market in the initial stages. Some people are coming, but we want to capture that in the initial stages. And it's a very interesting fact over there is that Hyderabad as a city and its little bit surrounding is the single largest consumer city of both BOPP and BOPET films put together.
Yes, agreed. And you are going to get the initial movers advantage, I think, Sumanji, with your thinking cap. Sumanji, how is the focus of the converters, which is absolutely coming back from the brand owners that they get, wo aapse aage mangte hain, in terms of the applications in the last, say, 1 year? Abhi to I think 5 quarter ho gaye pandemic ke. Any changes that have come?
See, in the last 1 year, the situation is completely different from, let's say, last 2 years. If you talk about 2018-19, people were asking different questions. In 2020 and now even 21, the question asked by converters or even the FMCG guys is different. They are not asking what films can we have different or what other structures we can have. The first question is the securing of the supply chain. It's going back to basic, because the packaged food consumption increased so much during these lockdowns and pandemics. So people were trying to secure their supplies and going to the basic films. There was no much talk about sustainability or that kind of stuff or new application. But this will eventually happen. I'm not saying that this is not going to happen. This is going to happen. But let's the situation started to normalize, then it will start to happen. So I think in the last 1 year, most of the films have been basic films or commodity films or, let's say, intermediate kind of films which have been selling most.
Understood. Sumanji, one question which I wanted to ask, which has actually come from the converters to put up you. I'm talking about the mid-size converters and some ones who are doing little less than, maybe 300 or maybe 400 tons per month. Their point is that the markup on what raw material price you get, the film producers put about 60 to 70 per kg. If I'm not talking about polyester, I'm talking about maybe, PP and PE. And then the converters apparently get only to mark up to 18 to 17 rupees because the brand owners exactly know what price they are getting the films from the film producers. They are getting stretched from both sides. Is there any plan of doing any kind of formula pricing which can help our mid-size and little smaller converters during this crisis time? Because they also have an issue of cash flows.
Well, I understand the cause and concern and the worries of the converters at the moment, and we very much, appreciate that this is a problem which is also causing a lot of cash flows issues. Similarly, cash flows issues are also with us because what has happened in the last 1 year and let's say 14 months, commodity raw material prices have increased sharply. And they were also the ones which also got initially impacted also heavily. So of course, they bounced back, and of course, the raw material prices, shortages, freight costs, international freight costs have gone up. So all this has led to huge raw material price increase. So technically, if you are asking me, you're saying that we are adding 60, 70 rupees a kilo. So this is something for a small, let's say small amount of time, or let's say 1 month, or I'm not saying that it was not there, it was there. But this industry has also suffered huge cash losses in the past. So, but the point here is that at this moment, this is largely because of the raw material situation and not because we want to charge that thing to the customer, to the converters. But yes, if some converters are willing to, have a price, let's say raw material linked or a formula pricing done, we are not averse to this idea. But there must be a continuity of business, and it is not that somebody give a couple of more rupees discounts and then they try to move away. So if there is a continuity and agreement, and they are ready to honor this thing. So we are also not averse to this idea. But in this industry, this has not been a trend because largely this has been a sport buying. For us also, we do not have contracted customers over here. So it's a sport business, and I think the industry has grown with the sport business. I do not know how much the industry would grow with the formula linked business, but overall it has been so. But we are not averse to this idea. So if there is somebody who is willing and have a firm idea of his quantities and commitments, so we can look at it.
Very welcome, Sumanji. Thank you so much. I'm sure the converters will find this very encouraging. Aapka bahut dhanyawad. Sumanji, by now the pandemic has taught us. पहले first wave आई तो हमने सबने hoarding कर ली. We bought everything and stocked ki, that was the first time we were kind of faced with such kind of a situation. Now, after I think 5 quarters of the pandemic, we have learned to segregate. I'm talking from consumer point of view, that what is essential and what is luxury, what can be deferred and even eliminated. हमको चाहिए ही नहीं अभी. It doesn't suit our lifestyle anymore. How you see the verticals? I know that your customers are converters, but converters आपसे वही मांगेंगे जो उनके brand owners, they will have the requirement for. How you see the verticals, which are the main ones for packaging, household, healthcare, wellness, luxury food, personal care, going forward in 22 and further? Because वो अभी जो jerk वाला situation था, वो stabilize हो गया है.
See, as you correctly said, over the last 5 quarters of pandemic, there have been lot of ups and downs, from the sheer amount of uncertainty to the now, like people have got used to the situation. Now no more hoarding is there. People understand that the supply chain will be there, raw material will be, the food will be available. But what has happened in the last 5 quarters is that the focus has been on the food, packaged food. So suddenly people have realized that all the other things are not necessary in life. What is required is that we need medicine, we need food, and we are safe. Nothing else people were asking. So I think packaged food has grown sharply, and of course, according with that, the health and the personal care segments have also grown. But the packaged food, I would say, has grown in the biggest out of all the verticals. Household segments has been a very standard thing. people were not allowed to go outside, so I don't think they were doing much shopping. And of course, the retail segment in terms of fashion and textiles have been the largest hit, because no office, everybody working home in a t-shirt, no need to wear, change clothes or to show to somebody. So I think that has been the worst affected, and of course, hospitality industry and tourism as well.
Absolutely. There was I have a women's group of the polymer industry, एक WhatsApp group है, तो उसमें there is this painting that is of a lipstick और उसके ऊपर वो माला लगाई हुई है कि thank you very much, with the mask, lipstick industry is absolutely gone.
Yes.
Suman
Cosmetic
ji,
industry in that sense must have been impacted large.
yeah. Just on, when we are speaking about the verticals, how do you see the beverage consumption picking up? Because that was a huge volume for the PT industry also, and for packaging, and now with the hotel industry and the hospitality is going to, it's going to take some time. Do you think this beverage industry will take much more time to come back? Even the carbonated drinks, people are not taking it because of the health reasons.
See, beverage industry has suffered, I think, in a big way, because in the last wave also it was peak summer, and also now in this wave it is a peak summer, and this is the time when the beverage industries has their season, peak season. So I think 2 continuous year of I see a little bit of degrowth in the beverage industry, which I personally feel, because we are also personally have bottle grade PET resin to sell, so we see that impact coming in. So that is there, and I think with that, hospitality and tourism, we all know how it has been impacted. Schools are closed, colleges are closed, the theaters are closed, everything is closed. So people don't have a tendency to go for a carbonated drink. And of course, with this health issue going up, people are trying to get more of a normal and natural things rather than carbonated drinks. So there might be some impact. I don't have real numbers to emphasize on that, but I think there will be some impact on the carbonated drinks, but because the focus is now on health drinks. Yeah. So the juices and all that stuff, so that will grow. So if that is impacted, that will grow. Maybe it gets offsetted for the packaging sector, but for the beverage industry, there might be some hit. I guess this is my assumption.
Perfect. Sumanji, you talked about PET. So how did the thought of backward integration of the PET resin manufacturing business evolve? Who's your technology partner? And PET resin, is it enough for your only BOPT films, or you also sell it outside?
See, this PET resin business is not a backward integration idea for us. We did not started it because to go backward integrated. We started it as an independent business segment. And why I'm saying that, because our capacity is 600 tons per day of PET resin, and our BOPET film capacity is only 90 tons per day. So we have, let's say, 5 times more capacity or 6 times more capacity than that. But that was started as an independent business unit. So in this PET resin business, we have film business, let's say film grade resin, we have textile grade resin, we have bottle grade resin, and we can do all the 3 simultaneously in the single day. So we don't, and we can switch over depending upon the market conditions. So that was let's say, as an independent business unit, not as a backward integration. The technology suppliers are Polytex, which comes from China, because we started way back in 2017. So, and they are reliable partners for us.
Absolutely wonderful to know. I did not know that it was a standalone profit and loss unit. It would have helped also, because you kind of didn't have to, buy the PET. It was there in-house only. Do you think you're also going to get into PP?
No. PP is a different ball game. It is not like PP.
Absolutely. Sumanji, the raw material prices, as you mentioned a little earlier, they've played havoc. Everyone knows it. Everyone has been hit. What policy have you personally trickled down for your group? Stocking or shifting the ratio between domestic and imports? Freights now are not so low, yet the availability of containers has become better. So, आप थोड़ा shift करेंगे जो आपका पहले का पाया था domestic versus imports?
See, as you asked about the policy, it has been the most difficult policy in the last 14 months. It has been the difficult strategy to build upon, because in the initial, let's say in the first 2 quarters, the availability of raw material was smooth, whether it was coming from domestic market or whether it was coming from imports market, the availability was smooth. But as soon as the trade balances got imbalanced and the freight rates went up, then this situation became little out of control, and there were some times, or let's say few days, when we were stocked out, because then eventually we finally developed one strategy, whether it is coming, we have a steady mix of both imports and let's say domestic sources, and we will keep that. So the final strategy was to keep stock in the supply chain so that at least our production units are not running out of raw material, and that is the only strategy we are working upon. Of course, there are some opportunities here and there. We try to take that advantage of that, but that is the keep stocks. That is the only advantage. And I would also advise, till the time gets normalized, I will also advise my customers to keep stocks, because anytime anything can happen.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I think, yes, I agree with you. This would have been the most difficult strategy to make, even for a person who's like a strategy maker like you. Sumanji, the customers, I've spoken to a lot of our colleagues and leaders from across the seas also, across the countries. And they are also talking about localization and, having a parallel second vendor, which is closer to their, area. Earlier, they used to depend completely on, maybe India or the Southeast Asian countries. Abhi, they are talking about having at least, developing a vendor that is close to their home field. Is it going to impact the exports from India?
That's true. That's true, because and this is largely because of the supply chain issue and the longer delivery time because of the logistic issue. And that is a good strategy to have certain sources from the local areas where you can get your material and run it. But let's say, honestly speaking, we had no dearth of orders from the export market. We always had a good export order book and still have it, and we are getting orders on daily basis. It's not that it is on and off situation. And you will be surprised to note that in the first 2 months of the lockdown in April and May last year, our export ratio was 80%, which is average 30-35%. Our export ratio of films was 80%, because the local industry was not able to cope up with this whole situation and run their operations fully. And so I don't see a reduction in our exports, because not only the commodities, we also supply intermediate and some specialty films. So that keeps on the ball rolling. And I think personally, I don't see a degrowth for us in the exports market.
I tend to agree with you, because, even these people would probably like to take the films in bulk, and maybe they do a little value addition at their own area. But film, probably they will just, because for bulk mein aayega. I agree with you totally. Sumanji, in what way the sustainability focus has changed in the requirements from your converters towards, films that you are providing? Because mostly it is getting into mono, and the labels, Alox coated material, as you've mentioned somewhere, water-based adhesive instead of solvents-based, PVC to PETG. How do you see it going forward?
As I said earlier, in the last 5 quarters of pandemic, the main focus of the customers was to secure the supply chain.
Absolutely.
Or to get the material. And the normal production was going on, or let's say packaged foods was going on. So the normal films were required. Let's say in 2019, there was a lot of sustainability question and all that stuff was going on, and there was a lot of government regulations also in place. But due to this pandemic, everything got stuck, and people were trying to focus on the basic things. So in the last 5 quarters, we have not seen too much of a talk about sustainability films, but nevertheless, it's going to happen. It's not that it's not going to happen. So on the sustainability front, we have quite a product portfolio in both BOPP, BOPET, coated and metallized film segment to cater to. And roughly it is around 5% of our film sales, but we are ready. And whenever there is a demand for sustainable films, which is largely, as you correctly said, is monolayer structure, high barrier structure, or let's say biodegradable films, or that kind of Alox films, or that kind of stuff is there. So we are ready with that. We have all the portfolio set out, and whenever there is a demand, we can cater to that, and we are in any geography, whether it is domestic or export market.
Super. Sumanji, if you remember in 2019, the specialty flexible packaging, my conference, the whole topic was only sustainability. That was the only thing everyone was spoke because that was the theme. I think now we missed 20 when it's going to happen in September 21. Now it will be a mix, because it is rightly so. Everyone was wanting just the availability, but the brand owners as well as the government, they quickly will come up with something the moment things settle down.
I'm ready for that, so that's okay.
Oh, perfect. Sumanji, one beautiful example that you've said is that you've established that professional management in a family-owned business works wonders. Kudos to Jayaprakash ji also, since he's proved to be a perfect partner. What is your thought on where the balance should be? Because such models in our industry, especially in the Indian market, are a lot, and a lot of variations are there. What is your comment on that?
See, family businesses to have professional people to keep their, let's say, businesses running is a very difficult set of thinking, which most of the family promoters do not try to have, or they think they can do better than the others. But I think in the case of Chiripal Group and with Mr. Jayaprakash Chiripal, so since he was diversifying and he wanted to grow bigger, and so he was of the idea that, I know a certain thing, but I don't know a lot of things about this industry. So there has to be a person who knows and who can take it ahead. If you just see, if, I don't want to compare here, but if you see only the promoter run business who came from a different background, now where they are and where we are. So this is the difference what a professional management can do. And the balance which you are trying to ask for is that as long as the professional and the promoters are having satisfaction of the way the things are running, I think the balance is there. It is not as a method to find out a balance, but as long as they're both satisfied and the business is growing, so I think the balance is over there.
Wonderful, Sumanji. आपने road खोल दी actually, you and few others in the industry, so that the owners can give the reins to the professionals to run it forward. They will take the growth from double digit to maybe 25-30% also. So आपको again धन्यवाद है. Sumanji, very interestingly, you are an investor in e-bike, which is the last mile delivery platform for e-commerce companies for food, groceries, urban mobility. I was very surprised and very happy to hear that. ये आपने कहाँ से आपके अंदर ये this of putting your money into such a new concept? Because in India right now the charging stations and ecosystem are very difficult. They are not and they are not even going to come for some time now.
See, the entrepreneurial enthusiasm was always there in me, because see, if I'm running as a professional this company, and so that instinct is there. Maybe I'm running for the company, but here this was something over which was always there. So coming to that specific question of eBike Go, so I'm not only an investor in eBike Go, but I am an investor in a few other startups as well. So one of them is electrical vehicle mobility, which is called Blue Smart. I'm also in wellness sector, which is drinkable yogurt and all that stuff, and advisors in a few other startups as well. So this is kind of a hobby, and I like it. So, and the other question which you raised was, how do you see it going in the future? See, all the countries in the world are having a lot of pressure to reduce their carbon footprints. And electrical vehicle platform is the only way to take this in a big way in the future. If you see the overall industry structure in the world, everywhere electrical vehicles are coming in a big way. Even in India, now Mahindra and Mahindra have launched their e-vehicles, and the launching and this let's say charging platforms are also coming in a big way. Now, this Blue Smart company, which I told you about, is having their own platforms across. So they are in Delhi, Mumbai, and NCR of Delhi. So they have their own charging station, electricity boards, where they are also doing solar panels as well. So I think this is a way forward for the, it's a new future. So we have to believe in that. And I think every infrastructure takes some time to build, but once it is going to be there, so I don't think people will go back to, fossil fuels anymore for the car, or let's say vehicles. And coming back to e-bike is largely for e-commerce. And we have seen the tremendous growth of e-commerce. And I don't think because it is convenient, you can do it at a click of a finger, a click of a button. So I think it's going to grow, and we have seen big giants of manufacturing industry are also coming in e-commerce in a big way. So I think that is the way forward. And this e-bike Go and all that kind of provides that kind of a platform which is going forward. So that is the reason I've invested, and I will keep on investing.
Wonderful, Sumanji. I also know that you're a CA, so your number crunching must be really solid. So you would put your money only when you see the concept has a future. I kudos to you there. Now, finally, Sumanji, my question to you is that what is your takeaway from the pandemic? One for personal and one for business, where you completely, how you used to look at things earlier, and after the pandemic, आपका पूरा paradigm shift हो गया है. वो एक एक चीज हमारे साथ शेयर कीजिएगा. I would really like to know what goes on in your mind.
See, you are right. Absolutely paradigm shift. We are not the same people who we were before the pandemic. Businesses are not the same which was before pandemic. And after this gets also normalized, people will not remain same. So there has been a lot of perspective change, thinking change, a lot of things have happened. Bad news have also come to the families, and so a lot of things. So people have come out of good emotion, bad emotions. So what I would say in that sense is that when this initially happened, it was an uncertain time. Nobody was aware. Nobody has seen that. Nobody heard yes in 100 years back, but they've never faced it. So it was like a shock, big shock, and it was an unknown disease, unknown thing, invisible thing. So it was a complete shocker. So the first phase was to how to react to this, how to come out of this. So I think the most important thing was to keep your calm, and to don't overreact to everything, and don't react to all the things around. So try to keep your calm, try to have some balance in your thought process. So that started to work, and the business was also running. So the company was also running. So that financial impact was not there. So that also has a psychological impact if your financial impact is not there. So that was like a kind of smooth thing happening around. But on the personal side, I think we are just simple human beings, which has come to the forefront. Whatever we think we are not. So we were completely left vulnerable at the hand of this disease. So whatever amount of money, whatever amount of power, whatever amount of fame you have, it was not like corona will not come to you, or this COVID will not. So everybody was impacted, be it the high, be it the low. So it came to basic that what you need is dal roti. So finally it came to that, and how to be close to your family. So a lot of family time was also being there, work from home and all that stuff, and also a lot of impetus on the health, how to keep your health. Earlier lifestyle was different, so going back to our own Sanyam and Niyam kind of system, Sanyam and Niyam, so that kind of thing have started, and I think this will remain. It will not go out, because people have realized after this second wave, they have realized that this was important. In the first wave they did because they thought it was the safest thing to do, but after the second wave they thought, no, this is not only the safest, this is the only way to do that. So I think Sanyam and Niyam thing will go on, and people will start to have a discipline, a well healthy lifestyle, and also give focus to the family and friends, which were like right now giving less time and all that stuff. On the professional side, I would say, on the business side, I would say that the focus was to keep how our all the people safe. Because see, machine is there, machine is not going to be impacted by COVID or something like that. So people are going to be affected. So how to keep the people safe? So from the very day one, our target was to keep our people safe. And how we did it, we started to stagger the timing of the people. Work from home, lockdowns, in that lockdown time, work from home. Everybody was given that opportunity to work from home in a big, let's say 2, 3, 4, or 5 months, even 6 months, they were working from home. And to how to keep motivating the people so that they are not afraid of coming to the plant, because plant has to be physically run. It cannot be from work from home. So we staggered the time for lunch and for the tea breaks. And since we have our own dormitory, so people were not going outside. So that impact was also less. And we started giving them vitamin C tablets, all the sanitizers and thermal. And we were having those COVID care facilities, tie up with COVID care facilities, so that even if somebody is impacted, we are going to take personal care of them. And all that started to happen. And we incentivized also our truck drivers who were coming from outside, because during that lockdown, they were not getting food outside. So we were providing free food to them when they were coming for taking the material or leaving the material here. And we were also giving them 6 kilos or 12 kilos of, free ration during on the way, so that they can cook their food and eat it. So that was an incentive so that they can come back, because if they go and then they don't come back, then everything gets stuck. So we did a lot of stuff. We also gave a lot of incentives to our workers and staff, so that they remain motivated in that period of time. So, and now we are building up an oxygen plant. We are late a little bit, so we are now building up an oxygen plant to provide free oxygen, seeing the situation of oxygen. I think in 1 week's time this will be ready. So because we have no idea of how the oxygen plant runs, so but now we will have it ready. So if there is anything, third wave or something, if that is happening, so we will be able to provide free oxygen to the, let's say, the facilities nearby.
Very
And
nice.
yes,
Very good,
and
yeah.
during the installation in Hyderabad, we had, and also in Ahmedabad, we had taken all the recommendations onto how to have a health, let's say, safety and hygiene protocol from ISOS, which is ISOS International Society. So based on that, then only the German engineers from they came and started to install. And we were all, so the first motto, what I'm trying to say, is to keep the people safe. And we have been successful in keeping the people safe. There have been some cases of COVID infection, but they were not huge. So we were, so that is, and with the people happy and with the people safe, the business was going well. So overall situation, and we now see that there will be a packaging growth coming in, because now plastic has played an important role in the whole COVID. So it is not a bane anymore, it has become a boon. So for the industry, so I think packaging industry is set to grow, and we are going to participate in a big way. Half of which half of which will come to know in couple of months. So it will start to happen like that.
Wonderful. Sumanji, you've encapsulated it so beautifully for everyone, from the personal angle, from the work angle, from the work, the workforce angle, that everyone who's going to listen to this interview will have some takeaway or the other. मैंने तो अपना ले लिया है, नियम और संयम, जो मेरे में वैसे कम है, लेकिन I have no to listen to you, because I think your secret, if I little bit I know you, would be that you plan very detailedly with a vision that actually takes away any kind of roadblock that will come. That I think I will attribute whatever I can see of you. And we are going to give you the best wishes for the Hyderabad factory. हम आपके साथ बने रहेंगे, and once the factory is over and you are there with the production, we will also cover that part of the journey with you. We missed the 20 for our flexible packaging. I hopefully in September 21 at least we shall be able to do it in a proper manner. And it has been an awakening talking to you, because normal before the pandemic तो everyone was on their work treadmill. इतना समय ही नहीं मिलता था तसव्वुर से जरा 2 मिनट एक दूसरे की विजन या व्यू पॉइंट समझ पाए. So आपका बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you so much from all our industry colleagues side, and we shall see you soon, sir. धन्यवाद.
Thank you so much for your wishes, and it's a pleasure to be part of this journey you are doing, and it's a wonderful job. So you're taking perspective of so many people around, and so many people see that, so they can learn and try to. I have also seen a couple of interviews from your this series, and it has been a lot of learning experience, seeing those interviews. So thank you very much once again. Keep safe, keep healthy, and we will be in contact.
Yes, sir. Dhanyawad, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah.